So all these things just made sense. It just made sense to me that this is what you would use for doing what we're looking to do. And again, like I said, specifically utilize NFTs for commodity tokenization and embedding traceability information.
Oh, what is going on, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central. My name is Fareed, and today I'm going to be joined by Sam Lambert and Daniel Friedman to touch on everything zenGate Global. Welcome to the channel, you guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing well. Thank you for having us.
Not a problem. I've been looking forward to this particular chat, and you guys recently just had a pretty big announcement as well, which I really want to touch on. So with that said, Daniel, you and I finally got to meet in person at Rare Evo. That was quite the experience. You also had a pretty big speech breaking down the announcement and the release of an MVP that we're going to be jumping into a little bit more as well. Now, before we jump into all of that, let's just quickly give the viewers a brief overview of the agenda, in which we're going to kick things off with just an overview of your guys' background, as well as an overview of zenGate Global and what it's bringing to the crypto space. After that, I want to do a deep dive into three portions or all three pieces of zenGate Global, but then we mainly want to focus on Palmyra, which is going to be a commodities DEX, which, as I just mentioned, just launched an MVP. Following that, I want to touch on a few proposals that I believe you guys have put forward as a part of Project Catalyst. And then we're going to go ahead and touch on the future vision in which you guys kind of see in the future for the entire zenGate Global platform. So without any further ado, do you guys maybe just mind introducing yourselves, a little bit of your background, as well as an overview of what zenGate Global is?
Sure. So I'll go first. So my name is Dan Friedman. For those of you who don't know me, shame on you. No, just kidding. In general, I've been in IT for a long, long time, since the ancient times of the dot-com boom and the dot-com crash. More recently, I was part of the, I guess you could say, the OG team that launched Cardano. Out of Japan, worked at IOG for about 7.5 years. And then about 1.5 years ago, started zenGate, which was actually a culmination of just kind of my experiences at IOG plus my work in the Ergo ecosystem coming together with this idea of how to really take advantage of all this knowledge that I accumulated throughout the past 7.5 years. And so, I started the zenGate soon. A little later on, Sam came on as a co-founder of zenGate, and we've been building the zenGate ecosystem ever since.
Awesome. Thank you for that brief introduction. I didn't realize that you worked for IOG. How long was that?
That was from 2016 till about 2.5 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to say congratulations or whether that was sort of a bittersweet moment, but really excited to hear that. I mean, that means that you were with IOG literally from ground up all the way until very recently.
Yeah. I mean, it's that is pretty much what it was. I think I was the first one in the first 10 people at IOG. Back before it was IOG, when it was IOHK. And I actually worked with Charles's former business partner, Jeremy Wood, who actually used to live in Osaka, where Sam and I live. And we worked out of that office that Sam is in right now, which is actually the same office that we launched Cardano out of. So, once that office became available again, I said, hey, we should get that. And so we did.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome to hear. And I'm sure that office has a little bit of sentimental value. On that note, Sam, how are you enjoying your office? Give us a little bit of background about yourself, if you don't mind.
No, it's an awesome office to work out of, and I feel honored that we're able to launch Palmyra out of it as well. So a little bit about me. So I grew up in Sydney, Australia. There's a few Australians on the team. And my background sort of work experience was working in the management consulting space. So I worked at a company called Oliver Wyman and spent most of my time there working with different like institutions such as banks, insurance companies, telco companies as well. So that's sort of where I got my formal training professionally. And I think must have been almost 2 to 2.5 years ago, I met Dan at the Cardano Summit, which was a virtual summit at the time during COVID. And we sort of joke around because we met on a floating turtle back when the summit was on a floating turtle. And I reached out, and we've been in communication since. And as Dan mentioned, we started zenGate, and yeah, it's been an honor to be able to work with him and the rest of the team to be able to launch, in my sort of opinion, paradigm shifting products, paradigm shifting ecosystems, which are going to empower a lot of people. So yeah, we're looking forward to the users and the people we get to work with each day. So very excited to be able to tell your community about the work we're doing.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And again, thank you both for joining me here as a part of today's show. I think without any further ado, let's just jump right in onto it. You know, do you guys mind breaking down what zenGate Global is, you know, and the entire ecosystem? Again, I know that there's 3 different pieces here. One of them is going to be the main focus, but just to kind of give the viewers an idea of what the entire platform is and what each portion of zenGate Global is aiming to do.
Sure. So, well, originally, actually, zenGate, well, the idea behind zenGate was to have a commercial and unofficial commercial arm for Ergo, the Ergo ecosystem. So, as some of you know, I am a strategic advisor to the Ergo Foundation. And while it's great tech, I was always kind of encouraging, you know, more commercial use cases, more business development, so to speak, you know, because a lot of the tech is a little bit too too techy, you know. So and we as we all know, the average user might not find that as interesting as utility. And while there are, you know, several projects that are bringing utility to the Ergo ecosystem, I thought that why not just, you know, put my money where my mouth is, or what is that expression? Put something where something is, anyway. And make a wait a second. Okay, so I think your viewers have to know about this. So the reason why I had to jump up is, and I just, you know, we'll get back to zenGate in a minute. I have a sugar glider emergency going on in the background. Okay, I have 2 sugar gliders that have escaped. They're somewhere in the back. Okay, they're not going to bother us during the show anymore, but they're somewhere in the back. That was a cat. Okay, so I told the cat, no, no, no. Okay, just this is all true, by the way. This is not I'm not making this up. Talk to me later about this. Anyway, zenGate, right? Yeah. So getting back to zenGate. So yeah, basically I said, okay, you know what? I have all this knowledge that I accumulated through my work at IOG, through my work in crypto, you know, for 7 years, almost 8 years now. And so why not put it to use in the Ergo ecosystem? Why not bring some viable commercial solutions to the ecosystem, build on this amazing tech? And then I said, well, why not build on both? Why not build on Cardano and Ergo, because they're just so symbiotic. EUTXO models, other communities are great. The tech is great. And a lot of things can be interoperable if you want them to be. So it just made sense. And yeah, and so that's where zenGate was born. Now, the 3 main, I guess, pillars of zenGate are the 3 different platforms that we are building and will be building. So the first one that, of course, we're going to talk about later today is the Palmyra platform, which is a tokenized commodities exchange that utilizes the Ergo blockchain for commodity tokenization and traceability, and the Cardano blockchain for Oracle and on-off-chain data processing. And so, there's just a few things that it utilizes both blockchains for. So it's truly a multi-chain application. And so the idea behind Palmyra is essentially what I did at IOG, and that is, so I worked with emerging economies quite a bit. IOG and as you know, Cardano in general, we really are into working in emerging economies in Southeast Asia and Africa. And so with my experience in working in that field, I thought, well, this would be a perfect application for that knowledge. So Palmyra is built to accommodate underserved commodities in emerging economies, both of which I work with. But however, Palmyra is just the first of the kind of the three pillars of the zenGate ecosystem. So Palmyra is a B2B or a B2B2C platform. So essentially, you can spot buy and sell commodities that are not available, obviously, on traditional markets, like commodities like Ceylon tea, for example, that we're using as a pilot commodity. Things like commodities like cinnamon, like rubber, various precious stones. So there's quite a bit of different of variety that we can have on there. And so, yeah, there's trading, there is DeFi also built into it, but that is only one part of it, right? So the next part is Solaris. And what Solaris is it's a B2C solution. And so essentially the idea here is that you bring a no coding, highly versatile, kind of plug and play solution for businesses to create their own blockchain, custom blockchain applications, or almost bespoke blockchain applications. Within this environment, you can utilize commodities sourced from Palmyra. So essentially what we're thinking about is the commodities, so the transactions are born on Palmyra, right? They're sourced in Palmyra by the businesses that are utilizing Solaris. And then within Solaris, they utilize the sourced commodities to create their own products. And then they bring those products to their customers, and they utilize all the different tools within the Solaris platform to bring those products to their customers. Like, for example, continued traceability, instant payments, again, tokenization on a more, I would say, on a more non-fungible level. Like, for example, the commodities that we're using are semi-fungible, right? So there are lots of these commodities. But Solaris would be more towards more unique and individual lots, where each individual, say it's if you're a jeweler, for example, right, and you source Thai gold from Palmyra, and then you actually utilize it instead of actually speculating it. You utilize it to create jewelry, right? And so these pieces of jewelry are become unique items, which can then be tokenized using Solaris, and then brought to your customer as basically a transfer of ownership, right? So, and with that, you also have all this information that comes from Palmyra, traceability information, state change information, sourcing information that is also just automatically embedded into the digital asset. So again, it creates this really robust library of possibilities for the business to utilize, whether they want to use it for themselves or they want to pass it over to the customer, and so on. And so that's kind of the idea behind the two platforms. Now, the third pillar is Cyberiad. And so Cyberiad is a geo-positioned or a geo-anchor tied metaverse. And so it's a metaverse as a service, in a way, platform that will that is intended to be rolled out on regional and state level. And so this platform can then be used for sourcing in real time. Like for example, things like sourcing, like when you actually source uh, grains, for example, right? And then you use the information in the metaverse to actually move these items and move value within the physical realm that these items exist in. And so and the various different devices you can add to doing this in a geoposition metaverse, like say licensing, like automatic certificate acquisition, right? So if you have a fully automated sequence going into this metaverse, and these pieces of metaverse are, say, recognized by various agencies that are regulating the trade, then when the prerequisites are fulfilled in this particular area, right, where they know, say, the processing happens, right, they fulfill these areas. And so when they actually move out of these areas, you have certificates automatically assigned to them, and so they move into a different area. And so basically cuts out a lot of a lot of this red tape and bureaucracy, and adds a lot more efficiency, because a lot of these things can be automated. And so yeah, so the general vision is to use all of these three in tandem with each other. Say the same, say for example, person that's sourcing tea can utilize all three to do business. Yeah, so essentially, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I know it's kind of a big vision, which is why we stay more specific in Palmyra, because Palmyra itself is a big vision. However, it is very important to really recognize that Palmyra is only a stepping stone off this bigger ecosystem of the zenGate ecosystem that we believe is going to be a really paradigm shifting medium for people to do business, and for for people essentially to grow in.
Thank you for that wonderful breakdown of each kind of arm, right, within zenGate Global. And you mentioned it's a pretty big vision, but you guys are in the right spot, in the right office to, I think, get the job done, right? One thing that really stood out to me is how interconnected all three portions are. You talked about how, one single person within the quote unquote zenGate ecosystem can use each platform in a somewhat continuous method to get benefit from each one. So I'm really excited to hear that, right? You guys are all somewhat interconnected. Now, I want to pose Sam a question here surrounding zenGate Global. Where is each piece in terms of development? I know, again, that one piece was just launched as an MVP. And so I want to kind of get the status on the other two. And then do you mind touching on why Ergo and why Cardano?
So I might I'll touch on the first bit, and then maybe Dan can elaborate a little bit more, considering he helped launch Cardano and is currently also a strategic advisor to the Ergo Foundation. I think he's better placed to answer that. But in terms of progress and where we're at, so we've just completed a number of pilots for Palmyra, and we've just launched our Palmyra Pioneers MVP. And we will be opening up towards the end of the year the full scale platform to start onboarding outside of the Pioneers cohort. So that's really what we're working towards. And what that means for us is opening up to a new cohort of buyers, and also exploring the potential to enter a new jurisdiction as well. And we've been working really hard on that front, and we've got a number of exciting leads that we're not quite ready to announce just quite yet, but there'll be some stuff in Q4 that we'll be able to share with everyone. And then as for Solaris and Cyberiad, we're really just spending a fair bit of time just on our R&D and just really thinking it through. The other two are reliant on Palmyra being successful. So there's a lot that we're learning just from our customers and some iterations that we need to make for Palmyra first before we can even, you know, start thinking about building some of these other products out. But yeah, we're getting a lot of really good traction to date, and I think we'll be able to start sooner than we're probably anticipated, at least when Dan and I first started the business.
That's very positive news. I know that Palmyra has definitely been well received. It was interesting waking up. I believe that was on day number 2 of Rare Evo, seeing Dan suited and booted, you know, dressed to the T, and getting ready to present such a big announcement, you know, for the zenGate global economy. And so let's roll right over onto you, Dan. You know, why Cardano and why Ergo?
You know what? We do have quite a bit of. I mean, community is very important, right? And if of those of you that know me know that I am 200% all for community. However, we do have quite a bit of, and I'm not talking about it specifically in our community, but in just in general in crypto, we have quite a bit of this. I guess it almost seems like a faith, right? People kind of get a little bit fanatical with it, and they stop being rational as to why this particular system or why this particular tool set is great, and start thinking about it more like it's like, oh, I believe in this, and I don't believe in that it's going to succeed. I believe in it. It's almost like it's a god that they believe in, and you know what I'm talking about, right? This kind of this we get a little bit of like jaded, this cultish thing, and I myself, I am the kind of person, and Sam can tell you, I am a very like skeptical and a bit you know, quite a bit irritated by cultivism, you know, cultism. Anyway, by that kind of thinking, because I believe in this ecosystem because of the tech and because of the community, the real people, right? And the real tech. And so the reason why Ergo is because of the tech. The tech made sense for doing what we were looking to do. The tech was basically perfect for, so we wanted to use NFTs for tokenization. And Ergo NFTs, first of all, make great financial sense to use for tokenization because they are so cheap to mint. So in Ergo, there is actually no minting fees. You only pay a transaction fee to create an NFT. They're native assets. So they work the same as they do in Cardano. In fact, the same people design both. So yeah, again, you know, a great tool to use. Very economically viable. You can do things like collections, so collection level create minting, and then basically go down through the hierarchy. And plus, you can have state changes, which are great for traceability. You have boxes, well, like you do usually in the UTXO model, specifically in Ergo, the Ergo NFTs boxes, where you can used to store metadata that would then be basically embedded traceability data, right? So all these things just made sense. You know, it just made sense to me that this is what you would use for doing what we're looking to do. And again, like I said, specifically utilize NFTs for commodity tokenization and embedding traceability information. So just to create this this kind of digital store of value, right? A digital asset that is a store of value to the business to utilize, right? Because it's not just it's not just a contract that says this represents this, you know, this contract represents this physical thing, but it also has all these other pieces of information that have their own value within it. So it just kind of you transfer this ball of value from one entity to another, and so it just made sense. For Cardano, again, the technology for the NFTs is different, right? The reason why we didn't use, or I didn't make the architectural decision to use Cardano NFTs at this particular point for this particular application is because it's a bit cost prohibitive. And when I say cost prohibitive, it's not cost prohibitive if you're creating NFTs like, say, IP NFTs, if you're using it for music, if you're using it for individual, say, luxury goods tokenization, things like that. But when you're using it to tokenize, say, I go to a producer and I say, we're going to tokenize 1 million units. Now, is it easier for me to say that 1 million units is going to cost them like $6,000 to tokenize or $100,000 to tokenize? That's just it, right? It's not because one is so much better than the other. Makes financial sense, does what it needs to do. That's why I use that. Now, Cardano for on-off-chain data, robustness of the network, right? So the Oracle network would work better on Cardano. It's a bigger network. It's been around longer. It's great for having a truly decentralized Oracle network, and for supporting that kind of infrastructure. Because again, one of the reasons for using decentralized infrastructure is your infrastructure costs are lower because you don't have to pay for all this infrastructure. You have to have incentives for the infrastructure to do what you want it to do, right? So you want to have incentives for validators to work within your ecosystem, but that's what it is. But again, it's a trade-off, right? You can, if you're good at what you do, you can create an incentive structure that you'll be able to use to incentivize entities in a decentralized ecosystem to create infrastructure for you that you wouldn't want to create yourself because of the costs and of security risks involved in creating a centralized infrastructure for something like this. And that's why Cardano. It just makes sense. Again, it doesn't mean that in future applications we won't be using Cardano for other things and Ergo for other things, and potentially other chains as well. Like, say, for example, right now, the actual traceability information, right? So the NFT itself, it's not a very good use to actually dump all the actual information, like the metadata, the text metadata, into the NFT. First of all, not enough space, and second of all, it's too cluttered, right? It's just not good use of that particular storage container. However, what we're doing is we have the protocol communicate with IPFS, and so the actual information is stored in IPFS that creates a hash, and that hash is then stored in the NFT, and then the protocol references the hash when you're trying to pull traceability information up, and then it pulls it from IPFS. So as you can see, we're utilizing 3 chains because it just makes sense. And again, it doesn't mean that we're going to be utilizing IPFS forever. If there's other products out there, if there's Cardano Ergo products out there that make sense to us on a business level, yes, we will be utilizing that. So there is no, there's no fanatical allegiances here. It's business and it's common sense. And right now, and I believe as we get further and further into developing Cardano, into developing Palmyra, I believe that Ergo and Cardano are great, solid choices that we'll be sticking with for basically as long as the platform is developed.
And I might just touch something else that Dan probably understated, which is the community piece. And as someone who's come from a background working with like banks, insurance companies, it's just not something you would typically think of when it comes to your business model itself. And working with people like Dan, others as well in this space, like, Chef Theodore, who's our BizOps and community manager, like the power of community I've learned from him. Tony Rose, back when he was working out of Atala, Daryl from Continuum Loop, they've really reshaped it. And there's this talk where Yat Su, who's one of the co-founders of Animoca, was talking on stage, I think at a TED talk, and he said, we're sort of moving away from this idea of shareholder-based capitalism to like a stakeholder-based model, and it completely reshaped the way I thought about Palmyra specifically, and sort of zenGate more broadly, but at least Palmyra's business model, which was no longer, we're just a team that, runs a sales function, runs a BD function, and just goes and find customers. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. There's a community, and Cardano, which is probably arguably the best community in this space, where it's full of people from all over the world, from all walks of life as well. Then it's not just software developers, it's not just content creators, it's people that have jobs in all sorts of industries. And the power of the community is that we have access to those contacts that we never would have had access to before. And we regularly get contacted around, hey, can you help my friend who works in this industry in this country? And effectively, we're able to build a really robust pipeline of business to do in the coming years. And that's something it took a while for me to understand, and how you create an incentive model around that. But seriously, it's something that is extremely powerful, and something I'm very much excited about. And I remember being on a call with my brother talking about it about a year ago, and like this idea of decentralized business development, I just don't think it happens at scale anywhere else. And we get to pioneer some of this, and I'm truly excited about what it's going to lead to.
Yeah, I think to your point about community, that is one of the biggest things, and that was so visible at the event like Rare Bloom. Getting to meet Daniel, getting to meet Theo, and understanding how many miles people flew in from different corners of the world to all be there for the same reason, which was to push crypto and blockchain forward. And so that, I think, in itself is huge. And I'm sure that you guys are both well aware how tight knit the Cardano community is. So I think that is one huge asset and one huge benefit you guys are able to tap into by building on both Cardano and Ergo. And then to what Dan mentioned earlier about tribalism, I know sometimes it can be very difficult, especially when you are financially tied to a particular ecosystem, to not see it as the best, right? And so I think for you guys, because you guys are builders, you guys have a different viewpoint, and you guys are not necessarily as attached as somebody who might just be in a particular ecosystem because they own a lot of tokens or projects from that particular ecosystem. So I think the holistic view would definitely pay off, but I could also potentially see that maybe causing a little bit of friction with respect to development, because you're now having to keep two different blockchains in mind when you're developing. It's not just worrying about Cardano upgrades or Cardano hard forks, but it's also now also keeping in mind what is actually being built on Ergo, as well as everything else that is going on in there. And so I can imagine that while it is beneficial to some extent, that there might also be some pieces that you guys have to kind of manually put together, because of the fact that at the end of the day they are two separate networks. And so I'll kind of turn it over to you guys to maybe add any closing thoughts you guys have here, and then let's jump into Palmyra and the MVP that was recently launched.
Yeah, sure. I mean, don't get us wrong. We're not whales or anything, but we do hold a substantial good amounts. I don't know what substantial is anymore, but decent amounts of both Ergo and Cardano. My largest holdings. Just that's it. Both are pretty much make up my entire portfolio, with the exception of some odds and ends here and there. That's like 5%. So most of my portfolio is Cardano and Ergo. So yeah, I mean, I could get, and I do get emotional sometimes about these things, right? When somebody is, spreading FUD about it, when somebody is out there, kind of lying about what the ecosystem is about, what the tech is about, what has been accomplished. Yeah, I do take it. I do get. I'm not a Vulcan, right? So yeah, there is emotion attached to it, and also especially with Cardano, since I saw it. Well, I was part of the team that gave it birth. So it just, you kind of look at it as your child in a way. And yeah, it's got this great, big, wonderful community now. But to me, Cardano, I mean, look, I remember Cardano when nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew where the hell it came from. I remember Cardano when the mission was kind of different than what it was now, and when it evolved. I remember Cardano when I used to basically search the internet, scrape Google and whatever for any kind of mentions of Cardano, because there were so few, to make sure that if there are mentions of Cardano, they're not lies, because we did have some haters from really early on, especially locally. There was this one guy that would just go around and just spread these lies about, like, oh, it's a scam, it's a Ponzi scam, they're criminals. Charles it works for the Yakuza, like all this crazy stuff. And you don't want that to be the only narrative out there when you're building this thing, right? So I remember that Cardano. A year and a half before launch, I remember. What was it, about 6-7 months before launch, when we found out that we needed to redo a bunch of stuff. And then, Charles has, I don't know if he still does it, but he used to be, he drinks one year and he doesn't drink the next year. And so it was a non-drinking year that became a drinking year, because we found out in Malta, oh, by the way, all this stuff that was supposed to be done, it's actually not done, and we can't launch when we're supposed to launch. And then he's like, okay, bring me a big bottle of whiskey. So I can even show you where it was, in Paceville and in Malta, and I'll show you exactly which restaurant it is. If wherever any of you guys are in Paceville with me in Malta, I can show you which restaurant it is at. Really shitty food, but really good liquor. Again, going kind of trying to get back to the point. I do get emotional about it. I am not, I am also guilty of that, if you want to call it that. I don't think that it is without merit, but on the other hand, what you need to do as a business person is always kind of have that gauging in your mind and say, am I making this business decision for my product because I am emotional? Or is this a logical business decision? Is this a business decision that's going to better the platform? And I am choosing to use this platform. Is this, and we had these discussions with Sam before. Do we really want to build on Cardano? We had these discussions straight out. Do we want to build on Cardano? Do we want to build on Ergo? Is that what we want to do? Do we really, is that what we want to do? And yes, that is what we want to do. Yes, it made sense. When we took away the emotion, we just left logic, we just left business, we just left tech. It told us, that's where you want to build. It makes sense. That's why we're building there. So we kind of have both sides here, and it's the super ego and the id, just the perpetual battle for sanity and clarity.
I think you guys have made a wonderful choice. Again, I'm obviously a Cardano-centric channel, so I definitely believe in Cardano. But whenever I hear about any other sort of chain, it's either Algorand or Ergo, which have similarities to Cardano. And so, again, I think you guys are poised to do great things with both of those platforms, and I look forward to seeing how you guys mature, given your really good start and foundation that has been brought forth already. Let's go ahead and move into Palmyra. So, as I mentioned earlier, Dan broke a pretty big announcement surrounding an MVP. Do you mind touching on, the process and the events that led up to that, as well as what we can expect right now from the live MVP, which is available at palmyra.app. Go and leave that link down below in today's video description.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start, and then maybe Sam can jump in and also give his bit of trauma. because yeah, it was not easy. So we made this a pact and this this must-have quite early on, a few months back. In fact, we actually made the decision to launch at Rare EY, I believe, right about when we started actually building out the front end of the platform. Now the UI has been done for a while now, but it was just a Figma, and we needed to build the actual thing, right? So we did some back end work, but we actually needed to build it to bring it to life, and so we made a decision to say, okay, we can and we will bring a minimum viable product to fruition, launch it at zenGate, and do the first transaction on stage right there. And yeah, of course, it wasn't easy. It took it took myself and Sam coming in, waking up at 5:30 in the morning every day, and coming into the office, and making this stuff happen, making the magic happen. Meetings past midnight, lining up producers, lining up logistics companies, lining up a bunch of Web2 business, actually, because this is not just this magic Web3 thing that is Palmyra. It's got Web3 components, but a lot of the platform is traditional business. It's we negotiated with logistics companies, we workshopped with producers, we workshopped with buyers, we understood what their bottlenecks were, and then we said, okay, so here we just need to figure out how to make it cheaper for them to ship stuff. Okay, but here we can plug in traceability and tokenization to kind of give them more tools for, say, entrance into a wider market, right? So again, where the business made sense. And so it was quite a bit of work. Sam did quite a bit of that work as well. He's the one that negotiated these contracts with the logistics people. He's actually the one and Chef were very intimately involved in creating the Palmyra Pioneers program and working with the Palmyra Pioneers to get them aligned and get them ready for the dates that we were that we had in mind. So yeah, there was no flick of the wrist, wave of the wand, and it's all ready. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and quite a bit of getting irritated with each other too. But we did it. And that's, I mean, one thing I can say is that I'm proud of this team, that in the end it worked out. We did it. I know that we can do it. Now I know that we can put something out like this. And so I'll just kind of let Sam jump in there and then give his experience in bringing this platform to life. And
I think
3-4 months. I
think the thing that was actually the least stressful, surprisingly, maybe not so surprising, was the development of the platform itself. So we have an extremely strong development team. We've got our backend developers, MG and Luca from the Ergo ecosystem, and so working with 2 front end developers from Armenia as well. It was quite straightforward. Like they're very not only were they hardworking, but so they sort of knew what the vision was and what we're working towards. There was a template towards it, and I actually think the headache was actually in all of the non-Web3, non-blockchain elements, surprisingly. And that, as Dan mentioned, was the piece around logistics. So how we plug in with the air freight carriers of the world, negotiating the rate cards in a way that would be cost saving for our customers, which they are, which is an extremely important value proposition for us. And then convincing the users. This is a whilst our platform, it's really hard to actually see some of the Web3 elements of it because we've designed it in a way that is seamless and non-intrusive, I guess. This is a completely new way of doing business for some of these people. And I'll give you an example. So in Sri Lanka, there was some regulation for quite some time where tea producers were not able to, directly export their products. And for a long time, it was only 3% of their entire production that they could export directly. So they've just been used to a situation where they've been quite reliant on the auction system. They're quite reliant on the sort of traditional ways of doing business. And we're coming to them and saying, here's a completely new way of doing business. You get, global access, direct access, access to foreign income, which is extremely important for some of these markets that are heavily reliant on US debt repayments and sort of other foreign currencies. So we gave them a better solution. And, you could take, Dan's talked about this before, I think on other sort of mediums, but you take all the blockchain pieces out and we're still offering a much better proposition to these people where we disintermediate certain layers. More of the profit pool is coming back to the producer and to the farmer. Things are more efficient. Tea that is plucked in August is delivered in August. And we're providing a completely different experience on the buyer side as well. And you add the blockchain pieces on top of that, and that just blows your mind. The piece around traceability, governments are expecting this stuff in the coming years. So producers are going to start feeling the pinch. Like they don't have access to this technology. And now you're saying the European Union, like trade bloc, is saying all of these imports need to be compliant. Like we're providing scalable solutions all the way down to micro businesses, to large enterprises. And we're onboarding like a pretty large enterprise right now onto the platform, a very well-known tea producer in Sri Lanka. So like I seriously am quite excited, and it's been a headache in terms of getting all the pieces lined up on the non-blockchain side. There's a proposition that we're offering to these people, and it's clear. The dollars and the commercial value is clear. People are going to save money. People are going to earn more money. So we're just going to keep at it. And I've sort of tweeted about this as well. Q4 is really important for us, and this is where we really cement what we're trying to do. This is where we build the product out so it's even better than it is. Plug in the pieces so it's a much easier experience. So yeah, all the right pieces are lined up. I think it was great that we were able to get to market and just put something out there. Like we're very proud of it, but we're pretty critical of each other and the product and the business, and we know that we can make it even better. So that's our key focus. That's our key priority. And we have no intention of disappointing.
So as you guys know, I'm a content creator, and so that's how I relate to things. But when I think about what you guys have achieved with respect to just getting Palmyra out there, right? When you're creating content, people always push you to just get your first video out there. Once you do that, the butterflies will kind of go away. And I think that's the kind of situation you guys were in, after building for such a long time, finally getting that first product out there. You guys are now able to iterate on that, see how it's received, and then make potential changes or even enhancements, right, to things that are performing well. And so I think getting things out there is definitely key. And you guys have now done that to where you can actually see how the commodity sellers as well as the commodity buyers behave in an ecosystem that you guys have kind of been methodically putting together, but haven't really had the opportunity to test. So again, I want to say congratulations on that aspect of things. One thing that you mentioned there, Sam, was you guys are providing new tooling. And just as with anything, when you have new tooling, you also have new responsibilities. And so as I'm scrolling through your website, I'm also noticing documentation and a lot of resources that you guys have put together to make sure that you guys are able to onboard buyers as well as sellers, which I think is really key in this space, right? Not only are you guys providing a new platform, you're building it on new infrastructure, which is Web3 tech, right? So being able to show people what are some of the benefits now with respect to things that they didn't have before and how they can use that the right way, as well as use that to their advantage, right? I think is going to be key. And then you also talked about, kind of removing the middleman from the equation. And so what you guys are doing is not only enabling for the buyers and sellers to have a stronger relationship between themselves, it's also allowing for trade and buying of goods to happen at a much quicker and a much more easier to manage pace. So again, a lot of really solid and positive benefits. And to kind of wrap it up, you mentioned you guys are working with, I believe, a big partner. One thing that I notice is, especially with crypto, there's early adopters, then there's the majority, and then there's the late adopters, right? You tend to have like this snowball effect where you get somebody on that's a pretty big partner, or somebody that's got a lot of visibility. And what usually ends up happening is something like a snowball effect where other people begin to then see, okay, well, if this big person did it and they're having success, what's stopping us from also jumping in and gaining some of that success as well? And so, again, I think if you guys are able to really execute on these partnerships as they roll in, especially with some of these more visible players, that's really only going to draw more eyes to an already amazing start. So again, congratulations to you guys for all of your work. I know we don't have Chef here. I did get to meet him and his brothers in person with Daniel. Really, really awesome crew. I wish I would have been able to also meet you in person, Sam, and I look forward to doing that hopefully soon. Let's go ahead and just kind of wind things down. There's one last thing I want to jump into before we close out the video, and that's going to be surrounding Project Catalyst. So voting just began actually less than 24 hours ago. And I believe you guys have some pretty interesting proposals that'll benefit SPOs or stake pool operators on Cardano. So I'll turn this over to either one of you, but can you guys talk a little bit about what you guys are putting forward with respect to Project Catalyst?
Yeah, I might just touch on this then briefly, and Dan, yeah, feel free to jump in if there's anything we're missing. But so we've got 3 proposals if we want to just go back to that screen. So the first one is, so we alongside Spectrum, Spectrum Finance, which is a DEX platform on Cardano and Ergo, sort of launch partners for the Rosen Bridge. And that was an announcement we made, I think 1 or 2 months ago. And we are helping the Rosen Bridge submit a catalyst proposal. And effectively what we're going to be doing in that proposal is building out tooling so that SPOs can act as watchers and help secure the bridge. So Rosen is a 2-layer bridge model where you have a decentralized set of watchers that look for transactions happening between chains. And then you've got like a guard set as well, which helps validate it. So what we think is there is an opportunity to create a new revenue stream for SPOs and ultimately move beyond just bridging Ergo and Cardano, but bridging Cardano to lots of other ecosystems as well, to help usher in new liquidity and new tooling and sort of access to different types of projects. So it's a really exciting opportunity for Ergo, for Cardano, but mainly SPOs, which is our key priority right now. So we've just kickstarted, we've selected the first cohort of pioneers that we're working with. So there's 15 stake pool operators, and they'll be instrumental in terms of helping us understand the design trade-offs around fee structures, for example. So it's really important. We're already getting started, basically, just during the voting period, and it'll be very exciting. The Rosen team just can't wait to launch. And then the second one and the third one is purely just focused on the zenGate ecosystem. So Dan, as he mentioned at the start of the interview, he's spent most of his, I think all of his crypto career working at IOG, and he's had the opportunity to go open new markets and build relationships in emerging sectors. And he's been instrumental in bringing that mindset and bringing that playbook to zenGate. But it should stop there. And with all the work that we're doing, we have been creating a business development playbook and a sort of governance and onboarding playbook where we've been able to sign pretty significant partnerships at the regulatory level and industry market level as well. And this is something that we're testing out right now, not only in Sri Lanka, but other markets. And we'll be able to build out a playbook and a blueprint which will allow other Cardano community members to effectively utilize not only our network, but do it themselves as well for their own projects. And that's seriously going to be a pivotal piece, I think, in terms of onboarding and mass adoption for our ecosystem. And then the final one is the Winter Protocol. So Winter Protocol is the name of the traceability protocol that we've built. It's open source, or will be open source. And we want to bring this technology to Cardano. So traceability deserves to exist on the Cardano side. There are going to be lots of projects, both existing and upcoming, that will be in need of traceability solutions. It might not be the only thing the project offers, but it could be a value add service that they can give to their customers. And like I've said before, compliance is coming, regulations coming, and customers just expect more transparency when it comes to products and services. So it's just something that we as a company can't spend all our time building for people, but we can give the tools so other people can utilize. So we can't do traceability for every single product and commodity out there. We just, like, it's impossible, but the community can. Different projects, leading projects, upcoming projects can. So our key goal is to make it open source on the Cardano side, and make it accessible for people to utilize. And, you know, with all of these sort of three together, we have the opportunity to show what these blueprints look like, onboarding, what the use cases look like. So it's not just building tooling for the sake of tooling, but we have a practical use case that we need to implement, and we can show you how to do it for your own project. So that's sort of the broad theme, at least across every single of these proposals. So yeah, I would really appreciate any feedback or voting as well, and some support for these proposals. I think they'll be quite important and significant contributions to the ecosystem.
I'll go ahead and leave the links to all of those proposals down below in the video description for the viewers here today to go ahead and check them out, as well as, you know, go ahead and actually show support given the fact that the actual voting period has kicked off. Now let's go ahead and jump into the very last thing here. I like to ask the guests, you know, where do they see themselves in their project in the near future? And then are there any key takeaways that you guys would like to share here with the community? I'll give you guys both an opportunity to go ahead and answer that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's relative what you see the near future is. I see our near future being something between an Amazon and Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So a new type of commodities exchange that basically services the sector, that's going to create a paradigm shift, not only in the way commodities are traded, but also in the way markets, you know, the availability and the I guess the openness of markets is well, available, I guess. Can't think of a better word. Availability that's available for more producers, right? For more of these mid-size MSMEs, basically, which is what we're focusing on, micro, small, and mid-size enterprises. And as we all know, those are always the backbone of every single economy. They make up the bulk of the economy, and this is why we concentrate on them. This is why we create tools for them to thrive. So that's where I see us. You know, I see us kind of making a change in the near future for these producers and for these buyers, and for people just basically looking to create wealth for themselves in a new way, which is trading these underserved commodities. People who are looking to create wealth for themselves in DeFi opportunities that are actually grounded in reality, grounded in real world assets, which is what a big part of the Palmyra is actually going to be, a trade DeFi platform, which is basically something that is highly needed and desired by various commodity sectors. For instance, the Sri Lankan tea industry constantly borrows money from banks as part of their regular MO. This is not just something where it's, oh, we don't have any money, we need money. They constantly borrow money as part of the process. A crop is evaluated. The money is then borrowed from the bank or from the broker to cover the costs of processing the crop, and then a percentage of the value is borrowed, and then when the crop is processed, then handed over to the auction or sold or handed over to the broker, then I guess the remainder of the money gets sent to the producer. However, they borrow this money at a premium of 30% on an average. And of course, it is a high risk jurisdiction. There's a reason why it's that high, but there isn't a reason why it has to be that high, right? And so we believe that with the use of trade DeFi, we can actually bring more reasonable borrowing opportunities for these producers, which we believe they're going to jump on, because even if you bring something at 2/3 of what they're paying right now, or even 3/4 of what they're paying right now, why not go there? On the other side, we're going to be creating opportunities for liquidity providers that are now utilizing these DeFi platforms that offer these insane yields that are impossible in the real world. The yields that our platform is going to offer, they're real, right? They exist. These are real commodities. These are real products. These are real businesses that can be vetted. So again, a lot of this paradigm shifting technology and a lot of these paradigm shifting mediums and opportunities that do not exist right now, that we will be providing for people in the very near future, they'll just make people's livelihoods better and make things more interesting.
Thank you. Sam, over to you.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So I think the broader aspiration I think I have that is very much aligned with Dan and the vision of zenGate is the idea around opportunity inclusion. And what that practically means is equal access to opportunities. It's not giving handouts to everyone, but building all the tools and making it accessible, regardless of the size of the business, whatever market you're in. So what that practically translates into as a business for us is we're operating across lots of different jurisdictions, different countries, and we're operating across different commodity markets and sectors as well. So not just doing tea, but making sure we're touching different commodities in all over the world as well, working with small businesses, working with large businesses. And so creating a new type of way of commerce, which integrates everyone from the community to regulators to industry associations, all in one place. I get really excited about that. Dan and I have a running joke that I'll be living in, one country each year as we move from one region to another. I'm not sure if that'll practically work because I do like living in Japan. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a very exciting time as a business and also professionally for myself from a personal point of view. So I've been able to meet lots of people from all around the world. So I've got no intention of stopping that and continuing to grow from a personal point of view, but also with the business as well.
Thank you both for coming on. As I mentioned earlier, we weren't able to have Chef, but I look forward to having you guys on in the future for additional chats surrounding the launch of the other two products, which I believe are still in the works. Again, not to take away from what you guys have done with Palmyra, but congratulations on that as well. The culmination of, I'm sure years worth of work, really trying to connect businesses to their customers, removing a lot of the hurdles that they currently have to jump through. So ladies and gentlemen, that will bring us here towards the end of today's video, touching on zenGate Global, which is going to be a blockchain tech company building commercial solutions for governments and businesses alike. Again, joined by Sam Lambert as well as Daniel Friedman representing the team. If you guys want to find out more about what they're building, I'll leave the links to all of their platforms, including the Palmyra MVP, right down below in today's description. And last but not least, don't forget to check out those Project Catalyst proposals, really trying to not only bridge together the Ergo and Cardano community, but provide traceability solutions for anybody to go ahead and use. Again, you guys, I do appreciate your time time. And for the viewers here watching this video, if you guys appreciated this kind of content, I'd appreciate you if you could tap that like button if it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you guys want more content like this surrounding the top builders, not only in Cardano, but within this brand new Web3 space. Consider subscribing. And if you guys have any questions for myself, Sam, or Dan, make sure to go ahead and leave those down below in the comment section. As always, we'll catch you guys in the next video.